Welcome back to the Substitutes. I'm Omar, he's Gaurav, and today we're talking about Spurs. Spurs had a fantastic start to the season after a busy transfer market, and they thrashed Southampton 4-1, and it looked like all was going well for them. But it sort of unraveled in the last couple of games. They were dominated by Manchester United, and then they were beaten by Newcastle, who have now entered into the top four. I'm here with Gaurav to analyze whether this is something that we should be looking at for Spurs, whether we should be worried, or whether Antonio Conte has got this with his record. Gaurav, talk to me.
Man, I don't know if everyone will recall, but I was really screaming Conte's praises at the start of the season, looking at how they'd ended last season. But man, it's really fallen apart. And I don't think this is going to end well if you're a Spurs fan. I in my personal opinion, I think the Conte honeymoon period is now over. He's not being able to squeeze the best out of the not best players in the squad. The not your Harry Kanes and your Sons, but all the other players around them. He's not being able to improve them or get the best out of them. All of the fundamentals that we spoke about towards the end of last season and the start of this season, a solid back three, really good play from the wings and quick counterattacks. All of that has been exposed in the last few weeks, especially against the better sides or the sides that are willing to play football. And if you look at their performances against City, against United, and against Newcastle as well.
Didn't play City, just a small correction there. Didn't play City
Oh
yet,
yeah, didn't
luckily.
play City yet. Didn't play City yet, but that's coming. And when they played against United, when they played against Newcastle, and even some of the
Arsenal.
other teams, yes,
Arsenal.
especially against Arsenal as well, what you saw was Conte's tactics looked very outdated and they looked very negative. It almost looked like he was playing Jose Mourinho football. And Spurs fans are starting to get quite frustrated by that because there is a lot of talent in that squad. So I understand what's gone wrong to some level. I highlighted Kulusevski as a huge part of their attacking threat. And to be honest, it's not that their defense has been bad. They just can't really find goals anymore. And with Kulusevski in the squad, their XG is about 2.39 as of last season. Without him, it's like 0.67. So right there, you have a pretty good reason as to why they're not scoring goals. But that's not the only reason. I think Conte's been a bit frustrated, and I think he's been exposed a little bit for having no plan B. That's my opinion.
Do you think it's too early days? So look, they've had two great results this season against Southampton, against Leicester. The scoreline was a bit crazy against Leicester because I think they just scored with practically every shot that they had. Son scored an amazing hat trick. But they generally play quite negative football. But here's my take, and I want to know what your opinion is on this. They got a lot of players in the summer, right? And Conte has a proven track record. Do you think that it just needs a little bit of time with all the experience that he has, that he steadies the ship? Because you mentioned that he's kind of like Mourinho, but in terms of how he just plays on the counterattack, but his teams press, whereas Mourinho's teams don't press. They just sit back and they just counterattack. So what do you think? Do you think people are jumping the gun because they were dominated by Newcastle and Man United, or do you think he just has give him a few more months, see if he steadies the ship?
I think, look, I would always be of the opinion that someone like Antonio Conte with his resume should be given the opportunity to correct the course, at least till the summer. You know, I would say, because who else is going to come into Spurs and do a better job than he did? Probably not a lot of people. But that's a very short list of managers, right? But I do think that if you're looking at those two defeats in particular that you pointed out, Newcastle and United, I think what will frustrate Tottenham and Tottenham fans is the lack of performance, the lack of drive to even hunt out a result when they went behind, the lack of attacking play, the lack of cohesion, and just the listlessness when they go forward. So, and I think to add to that, as much as we'd like to give Conte time, I don't think he wants the time. Like, he came out in the media in his last press conference, and with all the shakeup that's going on at Juve right now, since they're out of the Champions League, the rumors have started swirling that Conte is a favorite for that seat. And he came out and basically said, we'll talk with the club, as in Levy, and come up with the best solution. So he's already 1 foot out the door. So as much as we'd like to give Conte time, maybe he's just done with it, because this has happened before at Inter. This has happened before at basically every club. And there is a lot of parallel between him and Jose Mourinho when you look at like the 3-year like stretches and stuff. And I think he's just had it. I think he knows that he's not going to be able to either get all the players he wants at Tottenham working with Levy, or he's just understood that with this squad, he's only going to go so far. And he has a better chance of winning something and gaining success by going back to Italy or playing for another or managing another club. So I would be of the opinion that he should be given more of a chance and he should be given more time. But I get the feeling that he's already pretty much said, I'm fucking off in January.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's quite an interesting development, but I get your point on the Mourinho thing. He does have that habit of jumping from club to club. When the going gets tough, he has it with certain clubs. He's seen it at Chelsea, you've seen it at Inter. I just feel it'd be a bit of a shame because there was such high hopes for Spurs at the start of the season. They made quite a few good signings as well, and they started off the season quite well as well. People were thinking that this is their chance to challenge for the top four, but also actually maybe even put together a title challenge. But that seems to have been unraveled over the last few weeks. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think that Conte should be given more time? Do you think he wants to have more time at Spurs? And do you think he's the right man to take it out or bring them steady the ship? Or do you think someone else should come in? We're the substitutes, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.